In a quiet American town, wrapped in cold winter mornings and lonely railway tracks, lived a boy named Samuel. He wasn't special in the way people measure greatness today. He didn't have fancy clothes or the newest toys, and he certainly didn't have a father who stayed. What he did have was a mother who worked double shifts at a diner. Her hands were rough from washing dishes, her voice tired but always gentle when she whispered, "Sam, someday your life will be bigger than this town." Samuel believed her, not because the world gave him reasons to hope, but because her eyes carried a fire that refused to go out. Every night, when snow covered their broken porch and the wind rattled the windows, Samuel would dream of becoming someone who could lift his mother out of her struggles. But dreams alone couldn't hide the reality of poverty. Samuel walked miles to school wearing shoes with worn-out soles. He sat in classrooms where other kids had backpacks full of supplies while he quietly borrowed paper from the teacher's desk. Sometimes he skipped lunch because he didn't want anyone to know the truth. Still, he kept going. He studied under the dim light of an old lamp, turning pages carefully so his mom wouldn't wake up. She often came home after midnight, setting her tired body in a chair and watching him study with a smile, even when exhaustion tugged at her eyelids. For Samuel, that smile was enough reason to never give up. One cold evening, as Samuel walked home from school, he saw his mother standing outside the diner, her apron still on, her eyes red. She had lost her job. The diner was shutting down, another victim of the slow economic collapse sweeping small towns across America. Samuel felt the ground shift beneath him. That week, they sold their old TV, then the bicycle he loved, and finally, the wooden table his mother used to polish every Sunday. Life became heavier. Bills piled up like silent enemies on the kitchen counter. Yet, even in the hardest nights, his mother never let her voice break in front of him. "We'll get through this," she whispered, but Samuel could hear the fear she hid behind those words. Determined to help, Samuel took a job at the train station carrying luggage for travelers. The work was rough, the pay was small, but he saved every dollar for his mother's medicines and the gas bill. Every morning, he would watch trains leave, carrying people to cities he had only imagined. He wondered what it felt like to build a life beyond the limits of this forgotten town. Sometimes he saw his reflection in the glass windows of the departing train scene, tired, hopeful. Those moments planted a seed inside him, the belief that his story didn't have to end where it began. Years passed and Samuel finished high school with grades that surprised everyone but his mother. One teacher secretly submitted Samuel's essay to a national competition. It was a piece about growing up in a broken town, about a mother's strength, about resilience born from struggle. Weeks later, a letter arrived. Samuel had won a scholarship to a well-known university. His mother held the letter with trembling hands, tears rolling down her face. She wasn't strong enough to hide her emotions anymore. Samuel hugged her tighter than he ever had, feeling her tears soak into his shoulder. That night, they sat together on their small porch, staring at the stars as if the universe had finally opened its doors. Leaving home for the first time was painful. Samuel boarded the train with a duffel bag containing everything he owned. His mother stood on the platform, waving with pride and heartbreak mixed together. As the train moved, Samuel saw her shrinking in the distance. The woman who had given up everything so he could reach a future she could only dream of. The moment broke something inside him, but it also made him stronger. He promised himself that one day he would return not as the poor boy from the small town, but as a man who made his mother's sacrifices worth it. College life wasn't easy. Samuel worked night shifts at a campus cafe, slept 3 hours a night, and studied until his mind felt numb. But every time he felt like giving up, he remembered his mother walking home from the diner with numb fingers and aching feet. He remembered her words. He remembered her dreams. That memory was enough fuel to keep him moving forward. Slowly, Samuel built a name for himself. Professors recognized his honesty and dedication. Friends admired his strength. He became someone his younger self could have never imagined. Years later, Samuel graduated with honors. He got a job offer from a major American company, something far beyond his wildest dreams. When he received his first paycheck, he didn't buy new clothes or fancy gadgets. He bought a train ticket home. The ride felt like stepping back into an old memory. When he walked up the familiar porch of their small house, his mother stood there in shock, her eyes filling with tears as Samuel placed the keys to a new home in her hands. "This is for you," he sighed softly, "because everything I am is because of you." She cried as he held her, and for the first time in years, Samuel felt the weight of their struggles lift. His story had finally come full circle. A boy who grew up with nothing had returned as a man carrying everything he had ever dreamed of. And in that moment, under the soft American sunset, the entire world felt quiet, warm, and possible. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content that inspires. See you next time.